I'm a Sonic fan, and have been since the first Sonic the Hedgehog game on the Sega Genesis in 1991. Actually, it was the first game that I got with my Genesis only because it was packaged with the console. Really, any Sonic game that was 16 or 32-bit were my absolute favorites. Then I got my mitts on Sonic 2, and that was awesome. More levels, better special stage, and overall better game. This was a hell of a sequel. The proverbial shoes were filled quite nicely with this one. But then something happened in 1993. Sega was trying to finish Sonic 3 in time for the holiday season, but couldn't due to time and storage constraints. When they couldn't finish it, Sega quickly developed and pushed out Sonic Spinball in November 1993. This was a weird one. It wasn't in the same style as the previous two games, it was in the style of a giant pinball machine. That's right, Robotnik had transformed a new volcano layer into a pinball machine. In this one, Sonic must make his way through toxic caves, through superheated ovens, through the machine, and up to the showdown. Defeat Robotnik and Tails will come in to save the day. The island will sink and you are the victor. Why a pinball machine? Sega's research suggested that Casino Night Zone was one of the most popular levels from Sonic 2. This gave the design team a new direction to develop this game. As always, schedules were tight, and to be ready for the holiday season, Sega Technical Institute was comprised of mostly American staff, as the Japanese staff were working on Sonic 3. Because of the time constraints, the programming language was changed from assembly to C, which resulted in frame rate and optimization problems. This also explains why the sound and visuals were not as great as the past games and why the controls were a bit clunky. And there was another setback. Sega did not own the rights to the Sonic the Hedgehog theme tune, so a new soundtrack had to be composed within 2 hours. Hence, we have a kind of a slightly odd soundtrack that seems out of place for a Sonic game. The player controls Sonic in a giant pinball machine, and the added challenge is to gather emeralds in order to enter the stage boss area. The bosses are fairly easy, with the hardest part being that you need to navigate through the level and make the trek up to them. You can manipulate Sonic's direction when he moves as the ball, since the tilt feature of a real pinball machine is absent. In between stages, there is a mediocre pinball game where Sonic is a pinball player and he must save his friends from captivity, and Robotnik. It was well received and the concept was fresh and exciting. Overall, the game got some decent scores from the popular game magazines of the time. I liked the game, it was one of my favorites. However, it got friggin' hard after the second level. I was only able to make it to the final showdown twice, and I beat the game during one of those times. My final verdict? It's a great game that is a different take on a standard platformer. It does take time to get used to the controls, and there are some areas that are a bit glitchy and hard to move around in. I'm sure most of you played it, but if you haven't, give it a try and see what Sonic Spinball is all about. Thanks for watching.